Hello, this is Bradley, and in this video I want to show you how to assign a learning experience to a class. So I have an account, it's got a number of classes set up, and if you look at this social studies class, for example, the roster has students in it. It is a good idea to get the class roster completely set up if you can before you assign a learning experience, because the experience is going to go out only to the students in the class at the time of the assignment. So if I click this plus button, I can see my library, and in this case I've navigated all the way down to the learning experience level where you can see assignable learning experiences. Now I want to point out a couple things. One is, if I'm looking at this one here, any one that you roll over you have the opportunity to preview and you have the opportunity to assign. And you'll also see that there's a little badge here that says small groups and a little badge that says reading groups. And this is important because it affects the assign process a little bit, and I'll show you that in 1 second. When you click assign for an experience that contains small groups and reading groups, the first screen is to set the time. And here you can add a personal note. It just shows to you, so it's an identifier. You see start date and end date. This defaults to the time that you click the assign button now. The end date defaults to 2 hours later. I usually like to push this out a couple of days because once the assignment ends, you can't get it back. And it's better, in my opinion, to be able to end it when all the students have completed it rather than have it time out on you. Once it times out, it becomes read-only, and both you and your students can access it, but students can't enter any information into it. In step 2, you have a default for the entire class, and then I've set up a differentiated group here, which will be a topic for another video. But if you want to just assign to the entire class, you can pull up the class, and you'll see you have a list of the class, and you also have 2 columns in this case, and this is because of those badges that we were looking at. There's reading groups and there's small groups. On the far right you have some X's, so if you want to remove students from this assignment you can do so, and that's a way to assign to a differentiated group. With respect to the reading groups, in any learning experience that has this, it means that there are differentiated passages or articles in the learning experience. B is the default, and B is the more complex article. A is a simpler article, and I'll show you an example in 1 second. So if you had some students that you wanted to give the simpler article to, or maybe because you're doing it in class, you're going to give everybody the simpler article from which they can access the more complex one, but this may speed things up in the live classroom. You can do it like this. And once you set these, they're remembered. So once you assign reading groups, the Explora system will remember them for this class. When it comes to small groups, sometimes in a learning experience, groups of students are going to work together. And what small groups means is that only one student from the group needs to post the group's response, and everybody will get credit. So what you do is you define your groups here. So if I have my first 4 students in group 1, and my second 4 in group 2, and my third 3 in group 3, then my configuration is all set. If I wanted to create another group and put these 2 students in their own group 4, and maybe I want to spread things out a little bit and put this student in group 1, then I can go ahead and set that up. So you can add small groups if you need them, and you can take them away if you need them. And then on step 3 you click assign, and from here, once I hit assign, it's going to immediately go out to my students. I just want to show you one thing in the teacher view at present, and that is what the implications are for the reading groups and small groups. So if I click on Columbian Exchange, we're going to devote another video to understanding how to teach in the live classroom. But if I jump into the experience itself, in scene 2 in this experience there's a resource where it says read the historical background section of the article American Indians and Their Environment. If I click on this link, you'll see that it has 2 links. The summary is A and the full article is B. As a teacher, I see both, but the student is only going to see one of these links based on what you specified when you assigned the experience. If I click on the full article, in this case, it brings up a rather lengthy web passage. If you want to speed things up, you can assign just the summary or passage A, and that is a much more condensed version of the article. And it is linked to the source, so students could read through this and then jump to the source to go a little bit further. In this experience, if I navigate to scene 3, you'll see at the bottom of the scene it says, in the next scene, students will work in small groups to research 3 resources from the Columbian Exchange. And that is where that group setting is going to impact the learning experience. Students are actually going to be working in small groups and then posting an entry on behalf of their group, and it'll show up within the learning experience. So in the teacher view, I see this badge for the learning experience, and if I jump over to the student view, it looks very similar. It shows the student who the teacher is and the class, whereas on the teacher view, it only shows which class it's assigned to. And on the student view, when students enter this experience, it takes them directly to the activity itself. And from here, they're going to start to work through this while you are teaching.